convinced that the 94-95 away shirt for me is like an unlucky charm. I don't think we've ever won a game while I've worn that shirt. It's ridiculous. Alright, chat, so a little bit more disappointment for Preston North End. The typical North End after they come back from an international break. You go from being top of the league to being thumped 4-0 by Middlesbrough on a Tuesday night. Teams like Preston, what do you know? So yeah, it's probably one of the worst performances of the season, if not the worst. The only one that rivals it is West Brom, which I will check that now and compare them. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, so we had one less shot in the West Brom game, so you know it looks up a little bit. So yeah, I don't think it was as bad as West Brom, but it was still pretty fucking poor. So yeah, as you can see, 6 shots, only 1 on target, and the shot we did have on target was very, very wimpy. They had 58% possession, which again is one of those things that I expect now for the opposition team to have more possession. We don't seem to like to play possessive games. So yeah, that leaves us 7th. Now, of course, still not awful. We're still within touching distance. However, the gap is bridging. There's now a 2-point difference, and there's a 1-point difference between the next 2 spaces, 2 points between the next, and 3 points between the next 2 after that. Lose the next game, these teams win the next game, we're down to 12th where we belong. Simple as that. So, that's why things look a bit concerning, and the goal difference now sitting at -6. Yeah, so in our last 10 games, we've conceded 24 goals, I believe, in the last 10 games, which, when you look at the goals we've actually conceded, being 30, we've conceded like 24 of them in the last 10 games. That's a big fucking margin to concede goals in, you know. Especially compared to last season when we were barely letting any goals in. That's an outrageous tally, so that needs sorting out ASAP. Alright, player ratings. Woodman a 4. Very poor for the second goal. Made his first share of saves to limit the damage at 3-0, but couldn't hold on. Story a 4. Must take a chunk of responsibility for the defensive calamity in the first half. Tried stepping out with the ball and getting the player going, but to no avail. Lindsay a 4. North End's backline were all over the place, and the Scot was culpable in that. Johns nipped in behind him for the third goal. Hughes a 4.5. Not the return he would have hoped for. No whole lack of effort from the Welshman, but a torrid evening for the Vents. Come on, next page, please. No. Okay, Potts a 4. Moved from right wing back to attacking midfield in the second half. I thought so. A rare day off. It just didn't happen for him at any point. Whiteman a 4. Kept it simple on the ball at times, but North End never gained any control in the midfield. Him and Ledson can't get things going at all, which, yeah, I will agree. Whiteman without McCann is shite, and Whiteman without Brown or Holmes or both in front of him is shite. Whiteman can't seem to shine without anything good supporting him and anything good to support. When he's paired with this muppet, he can't do anything. I like Ledson. He's a very likeable character. But my God, he's a shit footballer. Ledson don't offer midfield anything. Tried to get stuck in, but the pace was off. Made 14 passes over the course of the game, and most of them were absolutely torrid. Bestie a 4. Kept going before eventually being forced off by Ledson. Switched off and caught out for the opening goal. A difficult night for the youngster. Ledson made a few tackles. He made one good tackle to stop a shot, and the only other good tackle he made was against Kean Best, which took him down and basically forced him off later. It's ridiculous. Ledson taking out one of our finest young talents is ridiculous. And even this is like, this is such a messy picture. It's like when Van den Berg diverts the ball to score. Look at that in the Premier League. They'll be all over VAR for 5 minutes debating if that's a handball. But obviously here as well, this play is marking Best, and Best is basically marking Woodman. It was such a messy goal. Mads a 4. The Dane couldn't get into the game, which didn't suit him whatsoever. Was starved of the ball and spent most of the game running out of possession. Keane a 4, taken off at half time, having little impact on the match again. Operated as on number 2. Oh, there we go, yeah. Operated as 2 Peonese 10s and picked the ball up in promising positions early doors, but drifted out. Millie a 5.5. Midway at the break after picking up a knock, he had to chase lost causes for the first half, but showed some strength, pace and power. Feeding off of scraps and cover himself in glory for the second goal. Evans a 4, came on at half time but had little impact on proceedings with the game good as gone, put himself about but Borough were comfortable. Calvin Ramsey 5.5, showed some sharp touches off the bench and that's his debut ticked off. Not ideal circumstances but hopefully onwards and upwards. Ben Woodburn a 5, off the bench for the final 30 but his work was mostly out of possession. and that's all we had. I do think we got the starting lineup very wrong. If you take a look, there is no Brown, no Holmes, which instantly, big red flag. They didn't even get played at any point during the game, so they might just need to be rested. But yeah, these two players not being on that pitch makes such an impact, especially without anyone else in the midfield like McCann. But then in the final moment, in the second half, we brought on Evans and I think Woodburn. Oh no, it was Evans and Ramsey we brought on at half time in favour of Osmajic and Keane. So unless they switched it up at the time, I don't know. Unless they continue to play the same, I don't know. But then we eventually brought on Watmore, Woodburn, and then later on Leighton Stewart. But Leighton Stewart got brought on so late in the game where there's just no point in even talking about him. For a player that's constantly praised in training, saying he's doing so well, why only bring him on for the final 3 minutes when we need to get back into the game? I know we're 3-0 down, but it's not an excuse. You need to get back into that game to try and at least scrape a point. We just never looked like we were getting back into it at any point. Okay, Ryan Law, we have two lots of reactions to read here, because one seems to be from BBC, one seems to be from Evening Post themselves or North End. Either way, there's some different words here, so we do read them both. Okay, Ryan Law says, angry, disappointed, but look, they are my group of players and we stick together, win, lose or draw. There are a few harsh words in the dressing room which will stay in the dressing room. I hope you swore at them all and slapped them. They have given us some fantastic moments and played some fantastic football. I just felt that tonight when we went 1-0 down, a bit of fear set in, and I don't want that with my players. The first half performance was nowhere near the levels, and if we want to continue a mid-table team, they are the performances that will keep you mid-table, okay? And we don't want that, so we are all on the same page. The lads know, and we know, that the first half performance was nowhere near the levels. Yeah, it was fucking awful. We came here with full belief that we could challenge Middlesbrough without being disrespectful. They are not the formidable force they were last season. They've got some good players and a fantastic coach, but I feel like we are better than last year. So I expect us to be better. But to be honest, I think they played better than they did against us last year when they had Archer and Akpom. Because I think we at least scored in that game. 3 goals is too late. You cannot come back from... Yes, you can. No, see, when you have the mentality of 3 goals is too late, you can't come back from that. You can. First half, it only happened in the first half. If they can score 3 in less than 45 minutes, you can score 3 in less than 45 minutes to level the game and potentially take it. It's happened before. Look at when we played Leeds all the way back in 2010. I think Ryan Law needs to be showed footage of this game when it was 6-4 at full time. I want to see the timeline of this game. Yeah, look there, the goals. Leeds goals, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 27 minutes, 39 minutes. They scored 4 goals in the first half, all 4 goals. We scored 1 in 5 minutes, 40 minutes, and that's it. We scored 2 in the first half. We was losing 4-2 at half time, right? Which, fair enough, it's not quite 3-0. But we've gone back into the game to score 4 more in the second half and win the game. Why can't we do that nowadays? Yeah, this was quite an unbelievable game. Probably one of the best North End games we played out in my lifetime. But I think Ryan Law needs to be showed that game, because there's something he could fucking learn from it. As always, it's my team, my players, and I will stick with them. They know it's not good enough. There is nobody in there saying it isn't their fault. We've let everyone down tonight, and we've got to do is put it right as quickly as we can, because barring the West Brom game at home and the first 45 minutes today, I think they are 2 bad games we've had. No, we've had more than that. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt, but I've told them they've got one more chance to get it right. Otherwise, we'll flip it round, change the team, and if we have to make changes in January, then we will, because we don't want to be a mediocre team and club. We want to keep pushing and progressing, which I think we have been. The first 45 minutes was not acceptable, and we've got to make sure we put it right. I think that's a bit harsh, unless it's just a loose threat to try and get them to step the pussy up. But I don't know. That sounds a bit harsh, saying that if you don't beat QPR on Friday, then we're changing the team rotation completely. You're out, you're right, and we might sell you in January. That sounds a bit mad. I mean, fair enough. I'd like to see some players gone and some different ones in, but at the same time, to say it like that, I don't know. I don't think we should be changing the lineup. We should just be playing with what's familiar. How far was the first half game plan? Well, look, the lads know that I'm going to stick with my team and stick with my players. It sounded like you were just then. I'm not going to slander them or diss them in any sort of way. You should, because it's my team, my squad, and I love them to pieces, but you need to be honest. But today's performance in the first half was nowhere near the levels, and they know that. I'm not going to disclose that to anyone else. You only have to look at the goals. We are disappointed. They know what I'm upset with. The game plan wasn't that, so we have to take responsibility. And the players who are out there, they know that they need to be doing better. When we've looked at the goals back, they are Middlesbrough's goals. And that's how they score. Our game plan was to stop that, but whether it's good rotations, good movement from them, their movement was fantastic, which at times, but not good from us out of possession. So there are things we could have done better, but that'll stay in-house. I know you're supposed to be friendly. They are your lads, but you've got to have a bit of autocratic leadership here and just put your foot down and say, that is fucking shit. Does the defence need to improve? It's 13 without a clean sheet. What was that? 13 without a clean sheet. I'm not really bothered about clean sheets as long as you win games of football. What I am bothered about is the performance. Forget the clean sheets. We had loads of boss clean sheets last season, but didn't do anything. We haven't had as many clean sheets this season, but we've won games of football, so that doesn't matter. There might be a personal issue for goalkeepers, but not for me. If I outscore teams, then that's just as good. Okay, do the heavy defeats happen too often? Well, when was the last heavy defeat? Are you joking? When was the last heavy defeat? West Brom, Leicester. I'd say 3-0 were a bit of a thumping. This could have been a 3-0 game, but it was 4-0 in the last minute. 4-2 to Ipswich, maybe that's a bit more passable, but losing like 2-3-0, no, not 2-0, but 3-0, 4-0. But we've lost that many, like I said, 24 goals in 10 games. That's a bit of a concerning figure. There was West Brom, but I think there is a stat the team had conceded 3 or more 17 times. Do these days come around too often? Do they come often? They come often in the Championship. You have just seen the score tonight. There's a couple of 4s. Is that right, or have you not checked? Oh God, you're getting feisty. I think there are a couple of 4s, so it can happen against good teams and good players. I don't think it comes around often. No, I think we've got a good win ratio, which to be fair we do, but it's not as if it's not fading. We probably give ourselves a mountain to climb sometimes with the goals we concede in early doors, but I think the last bad performance was West Brom, which is well and gone now, and that 45 minutes today. You're not saying the second half were good, because it weren't. The fourth goal just sums it up because it ricocheted and bounced in. But I think you were only praising my defenders for how resolute and solid they were a few weeks ago, so they can do it. Yeah, on to Deepdale Friday night. Well, we've got to now turn these 2 negative results in 45-minute bad performance into a good one, but we are coming up against a good team who've just won 4-2 tonight and have a new manager who's going to have new ideas. I said to the lads that they're going to bounce back quickly. Is Friday too soon? Well, I would play tomorrow if I could, so I'm quite champing at the bit that it is Friday. And I'll make sure the players are, but we've got to churn out a good performance. We've got to get a good result and make sure nobody gets on a fucking plane to go on holiday to Ibiza before we've got 3 more straight wins. Do you deal with defeats better now than when you first came to the club? Yeah, it still hurts me, and it will hurt tomorrow evening when I'm sitting down with a cup of tea and everything is just passing me by. But I know I've got a group of staff and players who will give us everything, and they have done. Today's first half performance was nowhere near good enough, but I will stick by them, stand by them, and believe in them. I know they can turn it around, and I know they can get a positive result on Friday, so that is the belief that I go on with, knowing that these lads will give us everything to go and get a result. And if they don't, then that's when you need to sort things out. So, injury talk. I do want to talk about this because it wasn't mentioned in any other statements, and this is really important. So we'll have to address Osmajic tomorrow. It's the top of his groin, and Millie doesn't really come off the pitch, as everyone knows. He's a tough nut, so we'll scan it tomorrow, see how it is, but there's no diagnosis just yet. Bestie got a bang to the head from Ledson, and we just have to make sure he's right, but yeah, we'll see how they are tomorrow. Liam Miller picked up an injury after the game on Saturday. It could be a week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 5 days. We're not sure. He got a bang on his ankle. The quicker it settles down, the quicker it will be. And I'm hoping it's very quick because, Jesus Christ, if Robbie Brady returns before Miller, I don't know what more I can take. And whether Brown not featuring was a precaution, yes, I know you want more on it, but I've not really much to say about it. I've got to make those decisions when people are not 100% fit. On his selection against Borough, you can question the decision to make changes, but that's what we've got a squad for. I won't tell you why the players didn't play because it's not nobody's business but mine. Okay. We've got to save those players. They weren't fully fit to play, and we didn't do the right thing. And we did the right thing. We've got a fantastic squad, and that team has played together before. And yeah, it sort of reminds me of the type of team we took to Blackburn last year and won 4-1, but at the same time, Blackburn were miles off their mark that day, and we seem to have a very solid game plan to work with these players that we're bringing, because we knew the lineup was nothing like we were playing, so we've had to switch it up. Whereas when it seems that we've just played this game and the last game, it sort of feels like the game plans were 1 and 2 where they've just not switched it up at all at any point during the game. even in the second half, the game plan just didn't look like it had changed. The whole game looked like get it back, root one it up the pitch, and hopefully someone picks it up. That's just what it looked like to me. Unlike when we play at home, when it's camp and guard the halfway line, try and create their back line to be as high up as possible, watch the offside trap, of course, but then lump that ball forward and make a dash. 9 times out of 10, we get in control of that ball. If they don't have pacey enough centre backs to get back, or full backs, whatever, 9 times out of 10 we are scoring, and that's why most of our goals come from at home. In the second half, when we try that little tactic, so there's something now that we're getting right at home, with the occasional hiccup, you know, like the last minute defeats and draws and stuff like that, and then the away games seem a bit more inconsistent since that first international break, when we was going to Stoke and winning, and going to these other places and winning. Obviously Bristol was 1-1, but every other away game we did, we came out with the result. Now, since after that first international break, when we've gone to the likes of Leicester and Ipswich, obviously the two big boys of the league right now, that's not been as good. We've just gone to Middlesbrough, we've lost 4-0, so on and so forth. You get what I'm trying to say. It's not as consistent as it has been. As soon as we come back from international breaks, we're goosed. And just before the international break, we were picking up momentum again. So it's a shame, really, that a break is stopping our momentum, because we're going to come back and we've got to try and find that flame again. And by the time we find the flame, normally there'd be another break, but now we haven't got one till March. So hopefully we don't occur any more injuries and we can freshen up the legs in January just as a preparation for the next break, because we can't be going into break after break and then coming out a shit team. So, because otherwise the momentum's just not going to carry. We need that momentum to carry, to keep going and to keep pushing for the top 6, because otherwise this season's pointless. You can't be top of the league one moment and then floating in the top 6 to now slowly drifting back down to where we always finish. You've got to have a right good go. I know what Ridsdale says is to get as many points as possible at the start of the season to stay in the championship and then have a go. I think that's so counterproductive. Why would you do that when you can literally just get as many points as you can all the way throughout the season to contend for the playoffs? Because that way you're getting points to stay in the league and to get promoted. Don't take it one step at a time like that. Just make one giant push all season. Otherwise you're just not going to be wanting points. You're going to put in lackluster performances and come against teams and think, oh yeah, we can sit back a little bit here, and that's what leads to some results that we get. So there's something that needs sorting out, but it's not my call to make. We'll see on Friday. If we lose that game, especially to QPR, there's going to be some big words had, I feel, with Ryan Lowe and the players. And if there isn't, then that needs sorting out. But if we beat QPR, then hopefully it's not all hunky-dory again, because we need to seriously knuckle down and assess the situation, because we should be beating QPR 2-3-0. So if it's one of those games where we're struggling, we need words. If we win by a good margin, comfortably, and a good performance, we move on. So yeah, that's just the way I interpret this situation. Am I happy with the Middlesbrough game? Not at all. Am I angry? A little bit, but I'm just more disappointed, if anything, because it's just you can't do anything about it now. It's happened, and you could see it happening a mile away. But oh well. But yeah, I'll shoot now. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you weren't one of the 300 that made the journey last night. And if you were, then I hope you get refunded like what happened at Fulham last year, like 2 years ago. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I'll see you all on Saturday for the QPR report.